Hey book lovers, my name's Natalie. I love books, so let's talk about them. Alright guys, I thought I would do something a little bit different because I noticed that in the books that I had read in February, I forgot to mention the books that I DNF'd this month. So I thought I would just do a separate video. I didn't DNF a whole lot of books, but they were still books that I read. And can I stop saying, golly. Anyway, so I did want to talk about them just briefly and why I didn't like them, why I DNF'd them. Because sometimes I feel, when it comes to me, the books I DNF aren't always books that I'm hating. Sometimes they're books that I'm just not, I don't like at that time, or they're just so boring I cannot continue on. Because I have noticed that if I am bored with a book and I keep forcing myself to read, I will just come up with reasons not to approach that book, and then I wind up not reading as many books. And again, I've got a lot of books I'd like to read through this year. I've got a lot of books that I own that I'd like to read through, so I don't feel so guilty about having so many on my Kindle, So I'm trying to be really mindful of when I'm not enjoying a book and putting it down. Now, I have, if you go to my Goodreads, which there is a, I don't know if there's a link, but I'm fairly sure that my handle for my Goodreads is down in the description box, so you can always go look. But if you look in my Goodreads, you'll notice that I have one list that's DNF 2020. And the reason why I make a list for books I've DNF'd, which I didn't used to do before, but I started that last year, was just because I realized that I was DNFing a lot of books, or I was trying to get better about just saying, I don't like this book right now, I'm gonna put it away. But I was like, what if I want to read it later? What if now is just not the time for me to read this book and I want to read it later? So that's why I put books on a DNF list. Because did not finish doesn't mean that I might not go back to it. Did not finish does not mean that I might not finish it later. Did not finish means I just didn't finish it now. And while we're here, let's talk about the whole, DNFing thing. I know there's a lot of people who just don't believe in it. But again, let me say this. If you are not enjoying a book, put it away. There's so many other books out there you could read. Now if you notice that you're not enjoying book after book after book after book, maybe put away reading for a week or so and take a break. Maybe you're just not enjoying reading. I know that happens to me with audiobooks. I can all of a sudden get really picky, and then I realize that maybe it's not the books, it's me. But I mean, life is too short to read a bad book. So if you're not enjoying the book, put it away. If you're not enjoying the book, shelve it as a DNF and come back to it later. So that's what I did with these 4 books. The first one, I also don't include DNFs in my books read. That's why I forgot these, because they don't show up on my Goodreads challenge. I don't count them. Even if I've read through most of it, I don't count it. Because I feel like, for me, my books read is, you've read it. You don't need to go back to it. You can go back to it if you want to, but you have read this book in its entirety. So I don't like to put these on my challenge, because my challenge is also a way of tracking the books for me. So we have number 1, Theft by Finding, by David Sedaris. This is his diaries from 1977 and 2002. I stopped this one fairly early on because, a lot of these diary entries were just David Sedaris talking about his drug use. And to be honest with you, it was kind of cringy. Like, when he writes about it in his essays, he kind of writes it with the filter of the past. And so it's not as cringy, but in that moment, it just wasn't something I wanted to read about. I wasn't enjoying it, so I put it down. I probably will not go back to that one. I can fairly safely say that I probably just don't like it. And so that's okay. I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. His other books have been for me. I've enjoyed them very much. So, this is why I don't always set aside an author completely if I'm not enjoying their books. Sometimes you might hate one book and love all the others. Sometimes you might hate the first book in a series. Vampire Diaries. I hated the first book. I think I gave it 2 stars. It eventually crept up to 3, maybe even 4 later on, because I loved the subsequent books. So, you know, okay. So, you know, that's why I like to try subsequent books in a series. Sometimes that first one just kind of falls flat. You know, so that's my experience. Sorry, there's a cat right there. The second book I DNF'd in, I'm pretty sure it was February, was the Babysitters Coven. I listened to most of this, and what I should have done was I should have sped it up. That would have made it a little bit better. And then I DNF'd it I was quite a bit of the way through, and then I DNF'd it. And it was just because it was so predictable, and it was kind of boring. But at the same time, you know, this is a book I should have really enjoyed, because I love things like when I was younger, I loved Buffy, and I love Charmed and that kind of thing. So it has that kind of feel to it. I just felt like it took a long time to get where it was going. I might go back to it because I did see that there's another book coming out. And like I said, you know, I have experienced where the first book in a series is terrible, but then the subsequent ones are great. So I don't know, you know, I might come back to it and finish it at some point. I just don't know if that's right now. I also DNF Chariots of the Gods by Erich von Daniken. This is, the Babysitters Coven is about a girl who, you know, she's a babysitter, and weird things are happening, kind of spooky things are happening. And then she finds out really late in the story, so I don't know if this is considered a spoiler or not, but she finds out that she's, you know, a babysitter with a capital B, and she's supposed to save the world. Kind of like a Slayer type of thing. So, you know, I don't know. It could have been better. It could have been better. Chariots of the Gods by Erich von Daniken. If you've ever watched Ancient Aliens, then you know what this is. And that's really why I DNF'd this book. You know, I kind of grew up with the idea of aliens as a kid. You know, so it's nothing new to me. But if you've already been introduced to the idea of ancient aliens, this book might fall a little flat or be a little boring to you, because it's not going to give you anything new, okay? I do believe that Chariots of the Gods kind of sparked a lot of talk and kind of led to like Zechariah Sitchin writing his books and that kind of thing. So, you know, this book is important if you like that subject. Yeah, Ancient Aliens. If you like Ancient Aliens, this book is important, but it just wasn't very interesting to me. And then the last one that I DNF'd was Poppy Jenkins by Clare Ashton. I was bored reading this, but I think this might have been a me thing and not a book thing. It really, like, I feel like at another point in time, I might really enjoy this and how sweet it is. But it was getting too sweet for my taste. If you know what I mean. I couldn't handle the sweetness. It was too sweet. I needed to go for something else. I think I went for something spooky afterward, but I don't remember. So, you know, that one was okay. I definitely do want to go back to it and see if I still feel the same way about it. It's a female romance. You know, Poppy Jenkins lives in this town in Wales, and this girl comes back who left like ages ago, and, you know, they had a bad, they were friends, and they had like a bad falling out and that kind of thing. So we kind of see what happens there. I wanted to like it. A lot of people seem to like it. I would at some point like to go back and try it again. And see if I still feel the same way about it. I think it might have just been like, right now is not the time for me to read this book. That's all. And I mean, that happens. It happened with Harry Potter. I tried to read that book like 3 or 4 times before I finally actually read it and fell in love with the series. So, you know, I mean, that's sometimes the book it's not the time to read a book. you know, or a specific book, if you know what I mean. So that is all I have for you today, guys. Thank you so much for spending time with me. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you've been watching a few of my videos and have enjoyed them, you know, or if you've been watching a few of my videos, then maybe you're finding something here that you're enjoying. So hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. And thank you. Bye.